Hi, guys. How is everybody?
Fabulous. How are you?
Hey, fabulous. I love that. What makes today fabulous?
It's Friday. I'm on the right side of the grass, and I have so much to be grateful for.
There you go. Tell me one thing you have to be grateful for.
Uh, I'm doing well. I mean, what's not to be grateful for?
I love that. Sometimes specificity is useful, but I'm perfectly willing to just bask in a generalized sense that all is well. That's good too.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Jamie. Jaime.
Hey,
Sorry.
Jaime. How you doing, Jaime?
Really good. Winter's coming like a freight train, and I'm almost done with my winter prep work.
Great.
Here in Washington, it's raining and it's snowing in the mountains. We've had drought for so long that we're very, very happy.
Good. We're watching the snow creep down the mountains,
Yes.
and there's a line. When it gets to that line, I know the snow is 2 weeks away from on the ground at my house.
Ooh,
And
good.
I can
Nice.
see it coming.
That's great. That's great. Well, just kind of give you guys an update because there are things about my health that I don't talk about publicly, but I will talk to the people who come here. That the situation was just as serious as as you might think, but apparently I'm kind of hard to kill. Uh, and I'm very glad to be here. I have so much to be grateful for, and I find what I look for is those moments when I suddenly realize I've been walking without any support and hadn't noticed it. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
so moving things back to unconscious competence is what I'm looking for, and that's happening. And the my rehab people say basically they like the program that I've created for myself so much that they think I could write a book about it. I'm going to try to formalize it and give it away as much as possible. But I can tell you that it starts with, can you get up and down from the ground? When you can do that, then you do a farmer's walk. And you do a farmer's walk for like 2 minutes. If you can't do a farmer's walk like with weight, then you do a Tai Chi walk, where you're being very careful about heel to toe. Very, very careful with that. If you can't do that, then you do it with a walker or a cane or whatever. But you move back and forth between going up and down from the floor and walking for 2 minutes. That's the essence of it. Hold on for just a second. Have fun. Okay. Um, and so a lot of what we're doing is working to get back on schedule. My voice is mostly back. I don't have all of the range in there, but I'm able to speak without really thinking about it much. I just noticed that my highs and lows aren't as present as they could be. Uh, and that is from having tubes down my throat, damaging the vocal cords. So, everything is healing. The the essence is knowing who I am and what direction I was going in and getting back on that track. So it's looking at all the different things that I do and making some decisions about, which of those things are I want to pick back up again and which things, maybe I don't need anymore. I'll be talking, Tananarive and I will both be talking about our writing process today. You guys seem to love when I talk about that. So I'm delighted to get more on that tracking. And a lot of this is trying to figure out what is it I can offer you? What is it that is best in terms of our interaction? You're trusting me to spend time every week. And so we're trying very hard to be worthy of that trust. Really as simple as that. I can tell by the way Suzanne cants her head slightly to the side that she enjoys being part of this community and just hearing us talk. And I'll be honest, I gauge a lot of what I'm saying by watching the way you guys are listening. I prefer this hugely to a telephone conference. I can actually see you. And I'm grateful to be here. I had a clear invitation to check out, and my attitude was, nope, not done.
Hey, Steve, to
Yeah.
add a little bit to your farmer's walks, throwing on one of these silicone additions to the weight really helps your grip, and you don't have to go big weight to get big grip. And then I was also looking at your comment on the hit slash the sprint training. I don't think that, having done some pretty intense farmers walks, I don't think you can do a farmer's walk that's as intense as a sprint that will drive that much production of HGH. You can
Okay.
certainly make it hard, but I don't know if you can make that an equivalent. But
I
I
think
noticed that this week.
I think you can, but I'm not sure you should. The reason being that carrying weight like that and walking like that, I'm not sure you want to max out your cardio in a way that would make it more likely for you to drop a weight on your foot.
Well, I've done 180-pound ruck and two 45-pound water jugs in either hand.
Yeah.
And if you're walking, you just can't walk fast enough to get the same as a sprint. Now, you can turn that into a jog and sprint on it.
Exactly. I mean, a
But
farmer's,
but if it's a farmer's walk, not a farmer's sprint,
well,
then
then
I'm not sure you can get there.
look, the it's farmers walks are a family of movement. And they're also, if you're going to go faster, you could say, carry. You take a look at these guys in the strongman competitions, and they're not always walking. Sometimes they're like, moving as fast as they can. I would not want to do that because I want to be careful with every footfall. Oh, it's 12 o'clock, and it's time for us to get going. So let's see. We are now welcome to Life Writing Live. And this is October 24th, the last Life Writing Live before Halloween. So if we get a little spooky, you can't blame us for that. Welcome everybody for being here. You guys are the first ones. It's kind of interesting. We routinely start with about 7 or 8, and then we get up to 20 something as we go. People tune in as they can, and that's delightful. So allow me to introduce introduce my good lady wife and let me get ready for our intro.
Yeah, we're going to do an intro. Not every single one of these ends up on a podcast, but I think this one will.
Okay.
I'm running a bit behind. I'll be the first to admit, honey. What is that?
Oh, that was a spam.
Okay. We're good friend Spam.
Yes, our good friend spam. I will try to limit that, but let me get to our intro. Find
Got
our
my set a little bit. Peek behind the curtain. There we go. That looks way better. Okay. So let me know when you're ready.
I will. Life Writing Podcast, run of show.
There it is.
9.
You would think we would have this memorized by now,
But I do not.
but I do not either.
Okay, we are ready.
And Rosebud, welcome to the Life Writing Podcast, where married authors and screenwriters Stephen Barnes
And Tananarive do talk about writing during stressful times, breaking into Hollywood, and balancing life.
every episode. We used to say every week. Now we say every episode. We'll share more tips on how to build a better life while you create your dream projects.
Even if it's only at the rate of 1 sentence a day. Life writing is the application of the tools of writing to life and the tools of life to your writing.
Ba-ba-bam, ba-ba-boom, ba-ba-boom. Ba-ba-bum, bum-bum-bum. Here we are. It's so good to be here. It's so good to see the familiar faces.
Yeah, if nothing else, just being grateful to be alive and to be able to interact with my family and to move projects forward and to talk to you guys every week. I'm really glad. We have backed off a little bit on some of our marketing, on some of our products, but we've never backed off on contributing to our community. And that makes me feel really good. It's very clear what was most important to me. I love money. Money makes all sorts of things possible, but it has to be secondary to the sense that if I were a billionaire, I would pay each of you $1,000 a week to attend this, because yeah, what's critical, and maybe part of this is that I see myself in you. Part of it is that you know that you've learned something when you can explain it to somebody else, and you can explain it simply. And I have this urge to, as soon as I learn something, to share it. And part of that is just wanting to be a teacher, like the teachers that I've adored. And part of it is that sense of knowing that if I can teach it, it goes into me more deeply. So,
Amen.
lots of stuff. So, unmute yourselves and everybody say hi and give everybody the high fives.
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
Hello, hello.
Hey, hey, hey.
Hello.
Fantastic. It's fantastic.
And newer ones. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So-
We have new people in our vast studio audience today. We may have some new names and faces. And honey, before we go any farther, I think we should talk a little bit about what's going on. what's going on theme song. Are you still here, Steve?
Indeed.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll start if you don't mind.
Yeah, please.
Because it has been quite an eventful few days. The most important thing we'd like to announce is that despite everything unexpected that has been going on with us in the past few weeks, we spent 12 days. I'm sorry, 12 hours. It might have felt like 12 days. We spent 12 hours on our set doing pickups and reshoots for The Keeper. I would not, man, if I'd had a time machine where I could glimpse into that future a month and a half ago, I would have really put my mind at ease to be back in the saddle, so to speak. We had one of the actors, the 10-year-old, actually, I'm sorry, she had a birthday, 11-year-old star of our film, as well as, a reunion of our production designer, our cinematographer. It was fascinating. I mean, in some ways, it was like going back to work. It didn't feel quite the same as like the first time, like, oh my God, we're on the set, or at least not for the same reasons. There were plenty of like, oh my God, I can't believe we're on the set, but it wasn't because of just the magic of being there and the bustle of, a set. It was because I knew what we had overcome to get there. And I think it was a triumph. I think,
Yeah, I
Steve,
agree.
you showed. I know you can talk about how you were trying to manage your energy, but in the thing that you were focused on and you had been focused on was the performance out of this actor, a very specific moment where she was going to have to dig deep in a performance she's probably never done anything remotely like before.
There
And
are,
you got her there, baby. You
look,
absolutely, I helped, but you got her there.
from,
Yes.
from what I understand, there are two basic approaches to acting. One is that you find moments in your life or in the lives of other people that you observed, and you sort of stitch them together. And that works very, very well. I think that a lot of British uh, formalized acting is kind of like that. The other is that you imagine that you are the person, that you go through what they're going through. And each of these has its advantages and disadvantages, and there are psychic risks to imagining that you are that person. Uh, and there are risks of being too mannered and a little distant. The classic example was Laurence Olivier and Dustin Hoffman with Marathon Man, where Dustin Hoffman stayed up all night in order to personify the desperate and exhausted nature of his character. And Laurence Olivier saw him doing this and basically said something effective. Haven't you ever heard of acting, old man? Uh, so Olivier was an actor's actor, but you knew he was acting. You know, he was just simply acting superbly. Okay. So what I needed to do was to break through Jolie's acting to find something that was real enough to blaze because her co-star, uh,
We don't
Janelle,
name them yet. We haven't unveiled our cast officially yet.
okay,
So, yeah.
her co-star had done a superb job of presenting her character. And I wanted Jolie to have, I wanted our little actress to have a moment that was as real.
As intense,
Oh,
and I think she did a fantastic job.
yeah, I think
You
she
know
did
me,
it.
like I thought our film was ready to go. I was like, why aren't we already in film festivals? Like, why are we going back on this set? Let's just go, go, go. But I have to admit, I hate to admit with a financier, I'm sorry, I hate to agree with a financier, but I do have to admit that the shots we got on set will make the movie better. There's just no way they can't. The movie will be better. And I think sh this young actress did a fantastic job, but we had deleted a scene where she was going to be able to showcase those talents more. So I don't think it was her failing as much as we didn't have time to shoot that scene first time around. And given that that was basically the biggest thing we were shooting, we had all kinds of time to rehearse, talk to her, kind of probe at her true life grief in a respectful way. Her mom there the whole time.
Yeah, that was critical. There were two things to me that were critical. One is I asked her to come to us with a performance in much the same way that Benicio del Toro brought a performance to The Usual Suspects. It wasn't the director saying, give me this, 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 and this. It was him saying, I'm going to come Tuesday with a performance, with a character. And he worked on that character. So that scene you see where they're in the lineup, Benicio del Toro brought that with him. Okay. I asked our actress to come to us with a performance. So I wanted her to go as far as she could. And I knew that if I did that, it would work better than me helping her build a performance from scratch. First, you show me what you've got. Now I will work with that. And not only that, but it was, I also felt, frankly, that I was part of her developmental process. That 10 years from now, when she is on a television show and making movies, I wanted her to remember our little movie, to know that we treated her like gold, that we gave her full respect as an actress, as a professional. The other thing that I wanted was her mother had to be on the set. Her mother had to be there. It was the only way to have a safety net so that she knew that she could go further than she thought she was capable of doing because her mom was right there. And I did not want any question from anybody that we had been inappropriate with this child.
In
That
terms of pushing her emotions.
that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. I needed, and I don't know what necessarily know what's inappropriate, but I believe her mom would. Mom
And
would know.
and just so you all will know, what level of intensity are you talking about? We're talking about such a level of intensity that by the time she finished shooting the scene, she was sobbing in her mother's arms, and everybody felt great about what had just happened.
Including her.
So, so you can't separate those two things. I mean, yeah, you can make a child sob in her mother's arms, but it's not as easy to have everyone feeling great about it. The actor is feeling great, the mom is feeling great, the directors are feeling great
And I was
while
able to
she is
say to her,
sobbing in her mother's arms.
I was
Yes.
able to say to her afterwards, I said, that was acting. What you just did right there, that was acting. And I want you to remember what that felt like so that you can go there. She will not always be surrounded by people who respect her
Mm-mm.
and care about her. I
Mm-mm.
want, it's good to know that her parents were protective, but ultimately she's going to have to know how to protect herself. That's not up to me. I can't do that. But what I could do was for those moments, I could treat her like she was my daughter.
Yes.
And I did, I love little girls, I love little boys. I see the seed of the adults they're going to be, but I'm not perfect and I did not want to make a mistake. So I'm so grateful that her mom was there.
Yeah, it was a profound day. I cannot wait to see how the new footage knits in with the old footage because as I've said, I already thought the movie was great. So we'll see how much more great we can make it, how
And
much
of course,
greater we can make it.
I definitely want to thank Kinzen Takahashi,
Our
director of
director of
photography,
photography,
who all of our tech people, our central tech people, Michael Yanovich,
the editor, Michael Yanovich, has been incredible.
these people are giving us more than we're paying for. And the
Yes.
only way we can repay them is by open gratitude and bringing them our excellence. What you're going to see when you get a chance to see this whole thing, I think is as first-time directors, I feel damned good about this.
I feel so good. I cannot wait. And it's so exciting. And of course, on top of all that, I think I mentioned last time I heard from my editor for my upcoming novel. So I've also been knee deep in those edits as well. I really had to wrench myself out of my book after I turned it in. I was in a fever for days afterward, craving feedback, which was not to come for months. So I distanced myself eventually, but it's been so good to be able to really dive in. And my editor is Joe Monti over at Saga Press, and he's very incisive. It's worth waiting for, is what I like to say. I mean, he's like catching stuff like character beats, technical beats, correcting my math. I really just need a reader for my math corrections. I am constantly messing up how many years have gone by or what. I mean, so he's catching it all, but with very, very light edits. And it's just fun compared to what life has been in the recent past. It is startling and exhilarating and a little bit surreal to be having so much fun. Like we are going to a Halloween party tonight. One of our favorite actors in the horror community here in LA throws an epic Halloween party. And this again is something I was looking on the calendar a month and a half ago thinking, well, I guess that won't be happening. You know what I mean? I mean, that was the least of my worries at the time, but I canceled all of my October travel. I didn't think, we'd be doing anything. So the idea that we could do a shoot on Sunday and then safely go to a party on Friday, again, it's so surreal. I'm so grateful. And it's a real testament to faith, because at every step of the way, there were dire things that could have happened. And instead of letting my horror writer's imagination get carried away from me, I mean, with me, it tried at night to take me to places and around corners. But just the mantra, Steve is safe. Steve is safe. Steve is alive. Sometimes that was just enough. And then if I read on Dr. Google, that it might be 6 months or a year before he could even start working again, I'm like, I don't know. That just doesn't sound like Steve. And lo and behold, 2 weeks out of rehab, not even, he's back on the set. So
Well,
I
yeah, I
got to
want
give it
to
up to you, baby. You are incredible. You're incredible. Yeah.
let me say that yes, I am that bitch. But what matters the most to me is what is the path that what I talk to you guys about understanding where you're going and looking at your daily behaviors, that's important to ask yourself, who am I and what is true? If you make a mistake about who you are, then you need to be in a context that will give you pain if you're hallucinating. Uh, what is true? What are the changes I need to make? You need role models, and this is where my love for my mentors, Larry Niven and Steve Muhammad, goes through the roof. They showed me what it was to be a superb writer and a superb martial artist. And between the two of those things, I was able to ask myself, what is it to be a human being? Being raised by my mother and my sister and not having a dad there and not having uncles or anything like that, I literally did not know what it was to be a man. So what I had to do was ask myself, well, what is it to be a human being? Which is based on, well, what is it to be an animal? Which is based on what is it to exist? So my attitudes here are slightly arcane, but it's gathering that stuff. What is it to be an artist? What is it to be a father? What is it to be a husband? What is it to be a martial artist, a fighter? What are those things? And somewhere in there was the truth of what it was I needed in order to bring the very best from myself. And to be quite honest, and not a speck of cereal in this, to be to be worthy to walk at the side of a woman as magnificent as Tananarive do. I
Hey,
I
back
kid
at
you
you,
not.
baby.
Yeah, it is God and goddess sense. That sense of I earned the right to be in this space, but I have to both just accept it and to continue to do the work. Always continue to do the work. So, for myself, the most important thing I'm working on, well, first, we got the keeper done, and there's nothing left for us to do there other than to shepherd the tech people to get us ready for award season and to submit and to move on to the next phase, which is hopefully making a feature. Uh, but while I'm doing that, I'm working on this project with Larry Niven, a short story that will blossom into a novel. There are some complexities here that I'm not going to go into. They're private, but I have to really, really bring it. There's a lot that I have to do here. And what I have to do is look at the responsibilities of a filmmaker, because in a lot of ways, what we've looked at is that writing a film in certain ways is no more difficult and no easier than writing a short story or a novel. However, the process of getting it made requires a completely different set of skills or an expansion of those skills. If you have a book and you go to a convention and you're hobnobbing with agents and editors and stuff like this, that's similar, but Hollywood is all about building teams of people. It's all about the teams, and then you have to think story, and then you have to think, well, what are the technologies that would bring this to the screen, and what is the scheduling? I had to create a schedule that went by the hour. Every hour we have to do this, and this next hour we have to do this, which is a little different from the traditional way of doing it. And then you have to be able to talk with the money people, and then you have to be able to talk with the distributors, on and on and on. It's slightly different language sets for each of these things, and slightly different social sets of social skills. And what Tananarive and I figured is that we have those skills. We're comfortable in those rooms, which gives us some advantages that a lot of writers don't have. Even better writers than I am, who are not comfortable socially, I can bring those social skills to bear and perform as well, because it's like multiplicative. It's the social skill times the technical skill times the organizational skill times the writing skill, etc., equals your result. So if I don't have this, but I've got more of this, this is why you've seen actors who are kind of mediocre but get job after job after job. They've got their social skills together. They're there on time, they hit their mark, they always know their lines, they bring donuts to the set. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
And
they don't let their egos run out of control. They don't end up in the tabloids. They
that's
they
right.
keep their feet on the ground.
That's right.
If I can jump in here,
Please
darling,
do.
your our manager, Jim Strader, told you years ago that he liked working with us because we're adults, and without getting into too many details, let's just say we are non-traditional in terms of the people who work in Hollywood. Our director of photography just turned 30. I mean, this
So
is
does
a
our
young
AD
this
and our
is a
production executive.
this is a young person's game, and we know this, and we haven't been young for quite some time. And what we have going for us, though, is we're adults, meaning all the things Steve just said. We turn it in when we say we're going to turn it in. We do what we say we're going to do. We can do everything from Zoom with our financiers in Tokyo, uh, to work with our actor on the set and everything in between. I was like wrangling mealworms on the set to look like maggots, and what we will do all of the things. But as Win Rosenfeld, the president of Monkey Pop Productions, which is Jordan Peele's company, told us in a Zoom, it's also what he appreciates about us as artists is that we have a reason for what we're doing and something we want to actually say. He meets with a lot of people who just want to be famous. They just want to, I
They
want
want
to be
their
a
name on the door.
showrunner. They
They,
want
they,
to,
they want the money.
yeah, they want the money, which I think was one of the lessons from Nope, which he agreed when we talked about this on our podcast with him, I believe. Like when you're looking up at the sky and you're looking up at Hollywood to give you money, that's what it's gonna spit a coin at your face and kill you. Like, yeah, it'll send you some money, but what you have to do to get that money may literally kill you. And I feel like I've seen that up close. So the point is, yeah, we love money. we have goals. We have, we don't want to be hustling for the rest of our careers. I love the idea of being semi-retired at some point, even though we're still working quite a bit and enjoying it because we love it. But there's a reason we really care, not just about the representation of the stories we're telling, but we care about the themes. Like I think it's really important for everyone to engage with their fear of mortality and their understanding of mortality because that has been super empowering for me through my life. I have mined my fear of mortality to create an entire career as a horror writer. And The Keeper goes right down the line, like literally was sparked by something that happened to me when I was about 8 years old. And I realized, oh my gosh, my great grandmother could die overnight with this oxygen machine she's wearing. And wait a minute, that means one day I'm going to get old and it was like a cratering effect. Like all of a sudden, if you've seen The Haunting of Hill House, I use the example from season one. I love Haunting of Hill House, the broke neck lady episode, which was a revelation that makes you rethink everything you've seen before. And I still get goosebumps when I think about it. That was what it felt like when I was in my great grandmother's room in that moment that ultimately helped inspire The Keeper. So yeah, fear of death is real, but you can weaponize fear of death. Actually, what you can do is you can harness fear of death to make it work for you instead of against you. And that really matters to me. That matters to me as much as the representation of a little black girl in a movie and an old black woman in a movie and characters we're not used to seeing. Just those human elements that we all share in common and how to create stories that just help us navigate this minefield, navigate the pain and uncertainty in the world, and also give us better eyes through which to appreciate it when we're not in the middle of a zombie apocalypse. Okay, how about that? Yeah, times are hard. Politically, it's a nightmare right now. But it also could be a zombie apocalypse. That would be way worse, is what I'm trying to say, right? Or there's no demon chasing your family. Appreciate that. That's what horror gives us.
And
Horror gives us an appreciation.
people gaslighting you saying there are no zombies, there is no demon,
Yeah.
you know. Um, I I realized that when I was in the hospital and I had to try to communicate something to the doctors that the hospital didn't want to believe. And I could feel that I was operating at like 50%. When I got up to about 60%, I could see how to explain something logically. When I got up to about 70%, I saw some of the connective tissue that would enable me to make a good argument. The same thing is true with the writing, that I was able to write this project working with Larry, but this last week, I regained enough of myself to see the connective tissue wasn't there. The poetics weren't there. The simplicity of just let's tell a great story is one way to have that poetics because it's coming from kind of a deep kid place, which has integrity for itself. This isn't that. And I did not have it. And I was able to get the distance. It requires, I had to be up to about 80% to even see that I needed to do this. And I was able to ask myself some questions that allowed me to see that the story had within it the seeds of the poeticism that I needed, but I was not expressing it. I had not expressed it. And I owe myself and Larry and our partnership and friendship much more than that. So it's in working on a movie, you have to understand, with a book, the technology is just the typewriter in a lot of ways. With a movie, it's being able to communicate what you want so that Kenzen Takahashi knows what lens to use, what piece of equipment to rent, so they can get this particular shot. And then you need to be able to communicate to an actor and actress what it is they need to be able to do, because what a performance looks like from the outside is not what it feels like from the inside. all those different things. And for Tananarive and I to be able to, if you look at the pictures of us on the set, there's one that I think is really great where Tananarive is holding court. Every eye is upon her, and I'm sitting in the back in a chair because that's all my energy would allow. I had to be very careful to harness my energy and to be able to trust her to do that. And not only that, but to not let my ego get upset.
I was worried you might not like that picture, to be honest.
No, I think that that picture, there is a part of me that because I was okay with it on the set, I'm okay with it being represented. It was
Hmm.
the truth. I had to trust you. You had to take your lead, and you were in your fabulousness.
It was a long day, but it felt good. And it felt good to be there with you. It felt good to be able to share the experience, even though you were seated most of the time. And I think we're both just super fired up now for the feature. That's
Agreed.
what we're working toward. That is what you've been whispering since for weeks, since you were still in bed.
Yeah, go ahead and tell that story
No,
again.
I've told that story for the past three
Okay.
meetings, but
All right.
yeah, but you all have probably heard the story about how I told him, to recite the names of people who cared about him, and he shook his head. He's like, no, but he said, keeper, feature, and I just really just that drive was such an important lesson on how our creative projects can really help elevate us and inspire us and even carry us. And those of you who are creators know what I'm talking about. You've been through some hard times.
And we have
Creative
creators
work
on here, T.
carried you.
We have creators who have wins to share and also issues that they might like to work out. So I think
Absolutely.
this would be a good moment for us to kind of open things up and let people raise their hands and ask us either questions about anything that we have said or ask us questions about anything that we can help them with.
Well, Jaime's hand is up.
Jaime,
Hey, everybody. I'm sitting here almost verklempt just hearing your stories because it feels so good to hear you both on fire and excited. But I've got two stories I want to share with the whole group. I studied acting at Northwestern University, one of the best theater schools in the
Hey,
country.
I went to Northwestern in
I know,
journalism.
we're alumni together with that.
Okay.
But one of my favorite professors there died this week, and he was one of my mentors. And
Mm.
you've heard me say before that the theme of 2025 has been this business of dealing with mortality.
No, that's true. You're losing a lot
And
of people.
and I wanted to tell the story of what I learned from Professor Paul Edwards because he taught me about that all poetry is meant to be spoken out loud,
Mm.
and that even deadly serious subject matter, when you take the time to use the voice and the tone and the timing of the pauses, even deadly serious things can contain great humor.
Mm.
And he taught me in that prior to studying with him, I took everything in life, including play, too seriously. And the difference between taking something seriously and taking something sincerely, and to wear life lightly and let it be okay to laugh even at the hard stuff. I learned that from him. It was a valuable lesson then, and I feel an obligation to pass that on to other people.
I
So
love
that
it.
that was one thing I wanted to share. Hearing you talk about your young actor and the difference between technical acting and method acting, sometimes the technical acting of muscle control and vocal control, because those control the communication of emotion. But method acting and becoming the character and living the experience can add the microscopic nuance that a camera will pick up.
Hmm.
But the
Hmm.
technical stuff can protect you from the psychological trauma and emotional trauma because method acting can be dangerous and you can lose yourself in it. And there are actors that have had to portray very difficult characters, and it's taken them a long time to recover from that.
I've heard those
So
stories.
so the technical thing is really important to emphasize. But then I had a success based on last week's life writing,
Uh-oh, what's up?
where I wish I remembered the name of the guy who was talking about his zombie story. but it gave me an inspiration for a zombie story I have never heard. And so I've been playing all week writing this zombie story that's covering something I've never heard somebody talk about with zombies.
That is so cool.
And so the one thing I want to share is that I've had conversations complaining about the Walking Dead series with friends because 5 years, 10 years into the apocalypse, the zombies are still there. They haven't starved to death from lack of brains.
Mm.
And so my take is that any zombie apocalypse has to end because the zombies lose their food source. And so this is a story about a man, and the zombie that he's trying to run away from or beat was the bully that tormented him all through school and college and his young adult professional life. But now he's alive and surviving, and his bully is the zombie, and he gets to outlast the zombie.
Oh, that's good.
And so that's the gist of the story, and
Look, I
I'm
think
having
that
so much fun writing it.
I
But
think
anyway,
there's a
that's all I
lot of
wanted to
stuff.
share.
I think there's a lot of stuff you could do with that. There are a lot of different metaphorical directions you could go with that. There's so many things you could do that even you could do an entire anthology of stories about that exact premise, and
Right.
everybody would take it in a different direction. But how long is this story?
So far, right now, I've got about 3 pages in, and
Okay.
I don't know how long it's going to take to get. I haven't hit the climax yet, where they're in that final confrontation, and he's watching the zombie die.
Yeah. If that story is relatively short, I'd like to see it.
Okay,
Yeah,
you
That
got it.
sounds
that's
great.
interesting
Well,
because
people actually being inspired to write stories, listening to the Life Writing Podcast, who would have thought? And also, I want to go back to the first thing you said, Jaime, about the importance of being able to laugh. I wasn't always able, in fact, I can't think of one time I was able to laugh at our situation from about a month or 6 weeks ago, but I did realize along the way that I could not rely upon my horror habit solely to go through it. I was even getting frightened by our neighbors' Halloween decorations. I was losing my whole sense of humor about horror during that period because I think it was a little too real. And I rediscovered comedy. And I started moving my way back to horror through horror comedy, like The Blackening, and other very funny horror movies. But remembering to laugh, even if it's like listening to 5 minutes of stand-up or a sitcom or whatever it is just so, so important, especially during times of strife. It's a little counterintuitive because it's during the times when you least feel like laughing or at least feel like you can laugh that you need it the most. But trust me, if you're going through it, do not forget comedy, do not forget to laugh. And thank you for sharing that, Jaime. Whoops. So someone's recording stopped, but mine has not. Who else would like to who else would like to jump in and share a challenge or a triumph from the past week or any reaction to anything we've said? Anyone who is also a writer or a filmmaker, or even if you're not, has anything we've said resonated with you? Are you feeling inspired? Are you feeling a little stuck? That happens too. We haven't heard from some of you in a while. I hate to call people's names, but we haven't heard from Otis in a minute.
yeah,
And
yeah, I
Otis,
was thinking Otis too.
what's up, Otis? You were jumping in chat saying that Jaime should do a script based on that zombie idea. And that's what I love. And by the way, before Otis speaks, you see the kind of camaraderie that we have here in the studio when we're doing Life Writing Live. Like these are writers talking to each other, giving each other advice. Even if you can't hear them, they're talking to each other in chat. And you can be a part of that 24/7 if you join our online social media site, Life Writing on Circle. It's www.lifewrite, R-I-T-E, W-R-I-T-E, of course, Rosebud, lifewrite.com, WRITE.com, 400 plus members, writers who are encouraging each other, telling each other about submissions. Join us there, 400 strong, and become a member of Life Writing on Circle. Go on, Otis. You're a member. You're one of our stellar members. You're an OG member.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Um, Actually, what I like to say is Tanana Reeve last time, or maybe a couple weeks ago, you were talking about reconditioning and getting yourself back into shape for stuff. And I've been having like a little bit of a hard time reconditioning after COVID, but after hearing
Mm.
that, I don't know, it helped me get back together and my writing is chugging along again.
I'm so glad. Now, COVID is a number on you because it's not just the physical aspect. There is a very real brain fog that comes with COVID, and that is not a joke.
So,
So,
so let
as
me
a
ask a question, Otis. Give us the short version of what you're working on.
Okay, the short version I'm working on is a couple people may have read this on the
I need
site.
you to be succinct because what we're
Succinct. Okay,
typically
okay,
trying to do
succinct.
is cut through your brain fog. So I need to get
Succinct. I'm
20
working on
words
a,
or less.
how many words?
Working on.
A short story featuring my characters August and Red, who are cult deprogrammers.
Okay. So they're called deprogrammers. That's who they are. What are they doing?
They are extracting a subject from a cult that's based on Synanon.
Oh, I remember Synanon.
Hmm.
That's the one where they'd sit in a circle and excoriate each other.
Exactly. And then they got to the point at the end where they were packing guns, drinking, and acting like a paramilitary unit from an Alcoholics Anonymous type group.
Okay, good. See, because here's what I'm thinking that your cult deprogrammers, that is easily a character that could sustain multiple stories. You could do an entire anthology about those characters and say anything you wanted to about human psychology or society, which is why,
Mhm.
I immediately moved beyond this is who they are. Now, what are they doing? So this is who they are. The situation is they're dealing with some people who are in a Synanon type group. Now tell me what the story is. 20 words or less. We know who they are and where they are. Given that situation, what's the story?
What's the story is they're hired to extract someone from this group, and they go out there and they find out that this group is about to like Jonestown. So it ramps up their schedule.
Okay. So they have to disrupt a suicidal ideation.
Yeah, of large scale suicidal ideation.
There are lots of different ways a story like that could go. I'm not going to mention the thoughts that immediately come to mind. But there are some psychological things where you could confront the leader. There are some sociological things where you could disrupt the organization as a whole. You could simply kidnap the person and take them out just before the group implodes. There are lots of different things. Do you know what your approach is going to be?
They're gonna actually have to derail whatever it is. Like, I don't know, I got a bell going off that activates their condition. They're all gonna come to a barn where they drink Kool-Aid, and I'm having my character disrupt it somehow.
Yeah. There are lots of things you could do, including replace the poison with laxative.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Yeah. Yeah, because they could be like phenobarbital pills, and you could like easily replace those with like laxative or weird horse pills. They're in a barn. It could
Exactly.
be,
You could
yeah.
have fun. You could have fun with it. Or, so in other words, that the tenor could be dark, it could be funny, it could be horrific, lots of different stuff. I think, are cults something that interests you?
Yes. And I
I would
do a
think so.
lot of writing about cults. Yes.
Yeah, because for you to dredge up something 40 years old, synonym, or yeah, Harlan Ellison used to go out to Synanon and be part of the Synanon game.
I am glad he quit that.
I got out there just too late for that. I wanted to play the Synanon game, but they'd kind of stopped doing that with outsiders by the time I got there. But I remember it. But that's good. That's good. Uh, and so, is there anything that we can help you with, or have we already done that? Hopefully,
Yeah, you guys have already done that. So yeah, I'm chugging along.
fantastic. Okay, good luck with you with that.
Yeah,
So,
thank you.
who else? Raise your hand, volunteer, or you will be voluntold. And let's pick on people who are here for the first time. Tananarive, can you spot somebody who you've never seen before?
I'm not sure. All these names look pretty familiar. There's someone Crix. That might be a new name, but I'm not sure.
Well, it's probably Crystal.
Has Jacqueline Johnson ever spoken up? Yeah, I think Jacqueline has spoken up, but it's hard to tell. I'm not really good with names only. I don't see the faces to go with the names. So I
Okay.
don't know. Does anyone want to volunteer to talk a little bit about what they're working on or what they're going through or ask us a question? If
Okay.
not,
If
then
not,
I feel like
well, let's see. Forrest Reed. We talked with Forrest last
last
time, I
week.
believe, and I would like to hear how that's been going.
Hello.
Hello.
Um, I have slowly been working on like trying to integrate some more like somatic movement this week. I attended like an online group where we did some somatic things that kind of got me more in my body, because I do like to be in my head a lot. And then this morning I did write down and I just like sat down and just wrote out some of the zombie stuff I wanted to write just to get it onto the page to try to get the ball rolling and slowly kind of get that practice going, even if it doesn't look perfect per se right now. So, and I do
Well,
have some other
it,
projects I'm working on that aren't strictly writing, but
when you said it
with
doesn't look
regards.
perfect, as I recall correct, if I recall correctly, that's one of the things that you beat yourself up with, that your first draft was
Yes.
perfect. Okay. So you have to in you have to look at that. You have to ask yourself, does that belief protect you? You know, the belief is one of that your first draft should look like somebody else's finished draft.
Hmm.
Where did that come from?
I mean, we definitely scratched the surface of that last time with a lot of different childhood trauma and other things from my upbringing in terms of like internalizing maybe what other people have said about my abilities or capabilities in the past.
Now, were they saying you have tremendous capability, but you're not living up to it, or did they doubt that you had capability?
A little bit of both, to be quite
Gotcha.
honest.
Okay, so what would you, and I hope this might be something that we did last time. What would you say to how old, if you had to go back into your past and see how old were you before the damage took place? The day before the damage took place for the first time, how old were you?
Probably 6 or 7.
Okay, so I would like you to go back and talk to that 6 or 7 year old. If you could send a message back to him, what would you say?
To always believe in yourself.
Go ahead.
That whatever I dream, I can make my a reality, regardless of what anyone tries to tell me along the way. Whatever gets put in my way, I'll be able to navigate it. Uh, that you have the power within yourself to dream whatever reality you want to make come to fruition.
There you go. What we're doing is we're giving you the tools to make that the truth. Because, yes, you can create anything that you want. I believe that any dream you can hold continuously in your mind, you can find a way to bring to fruition. But you will need to gather tools because, it's like strategies and tactics. So we can provide you with that. But the most important thing you can do is remember that it's that kid inside you that has the creative gift, and all he wants to know is that he is beautiful and loved. Beautiful and loved. And if you can love him and understand that he's done the best he could every day of his life, you can move forward with power. Okay. But you will need to protect him. You're his father now. Okay. You'll need to protect him. If you can do that, I would suggest that several times a week or even every day, one of the first things you do when you wake up after feeling gratitude for another day of life is to visualize that little boy and tell him how much you love him and how proud of him you are. At some point, he will come and crawl up into your lap and hug you. that's when you've made your connection. Then all you have to do is listen to what he whispers in your ear. And you're on your way, buddy.
I hear you. Thank you for your words last week. I have like been thinking about how I am like, you know, reparenting myself in a way, and that like, growing into who I want to be and returning to who I am, especially as a trans person that's on my own like hormone transition journey, like really like being my own father to my inner child in a way that I didn't have growing up, or needed in a certain way
Well, let me
growing up
ask
that I
you,
didn't
if I need to
have.
adjust my language, I will. You're transitioning from what to what?
Oh, I'm non-binary. I
Huh?
consider myself very transmasculine. I go by they, them, he, him, or z, zir. Thank you for asking though.
Yeah, what would you prefer? I would like to support you in being whatever it is that gives power and joy to your life.
They, them, or he, him are fine.
Okay, so he, him as a protective, they, them as a combination of protective and nurturing. Okay, so whatever it is that you need, you have that within you. We all have both of those qualities within us. And I want to support you in finding the healthiest way forward for you in your life, in your time, in your way, which is absolutely your right. Okay?
Thank you. I appreciate everyone's support too.
You bet. Well, bless your heart and keep coming back if you can.
Yeah, of
All right.
course. Thanks.
So, let's see. Okay, Che. Che will hide out unless I drag him forward.
What up?
What up?
Let's see. So last week I was challenged by you to like just pick a date and do a thing and finish it. And I would say that I did a bunch of that. I was trying to record like a rough draft of sort of this audio skit that's going to be
Yes.
on a 7-inch thing that I'm trying to release. And it's not done, but like it's pretty done. It's certainly, it's like a 90% done rough draft.
Great.
Um,
Yeah, that's fantastic. Um, if you know geometry, you know that if I give you three dots of a circle, you can draw the circle.
yeah,
Okay. So what you want is to do enough that your unconscious mind has started the process of moving the project to your consciousness. Also to know that you can count on yourself, that you can keep your word to yourself. Life gets in the way, buddy. That's just the truth.
true that.
But if you, because it's like if you know you did it right, if there's a part of you which, if I were to say you didn't finish the whole thing, if there's a part of you who would say, screw you, I did a lot of it, I did
Yeah,
enough. See, that's what I'm looking for.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
looking, it is the same thing with Forrest, that to protect the child creator self, you need the part of you that says, I am that bitch, back off. Okay? You've got that. Okay. We want to balance that. So what is your next step? What can you do in the next week that would be a legitimate movement forward? And before you answer that question, I think that Tananari wanted to say something.
Oh, no, I'm just vibing. Wait,
That's
I
great.
am just vibing. I just, applause and vibing.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, let's give Chase some applause. Let's give him some love.
oh,
Just get those hearts up there.
Yeah,
Be-
you finished what you wanted to say, Steve, because what I was noticing is that none of the ladies have stepped forward yet. That's what I was
We're going
noticing.
to go for the ladies next. You choose a lady.
All
So,
right.
Che, give us the short version of what you can do in the next week, and then you come back next week and you carry this forward.
yeah. I think the next thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the second skit or short scene. So I'm gonna write it. I'm gonna record a rough draft of it and do a first pass of some audio design. Um,
Fantastic.
yeah,
Because as soon as you bring in another actor, the fun of doing a radio play or doing a movie is watching what other people contribute to your work. Okay.
Oh, so fun. So much fun. Yeah, that was the great thing about our shoot was watching how the various artists were sort of taking ownership of their pieces of it, like so we'll tell the cinematographer we just need an exterior shot of the house at night so we can see the light go on. And he's like got this pan like from the top going down. It's like we didn't tell him how to pan and he was just bringing his own creativity. And that is so much fun to watch other talented people bring their vision into your vision. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. So
So,
for us next week, Tananarive, have you selected someone?
I mean, I don't want to pick on people, but I do see Suzanne Paul sitting here and she hasn't said anything. So I feel like maybe we need to hear from Suzanne. What are you working on, Suzanne? Do you mind
Sus
sharing with the class?
no, I'm fine. With that. Actually, I have been kind of coasting these last couple of weeks. I had a backlog of several short stories that I had finished that I went ahead and revised
Great.
and have been sending those out.
Great.
But I've been kind of stalled in doing the new stuff. I need to work on generating new stories to get those out there. So in
Okay.
that sense, I've been kind of la la la.
Well, what I like about what you just said is that even though what you've described is a very necessary process so that you can like save those short stories from the graveyard of stories past and revise and actually get that is huge. So I want to honor that. That is absolutely huge. But what I love about it is that you're even recognizing within yourself that even though you're doing something that is necessary and productive, you're not doing the thing that you
Hmm.
feel like you need to be doing. That was like when I had the opposite situation. When I was working for the Miami Herald full time, writing in my spare time, I was full steam ahead into my second novel, My Soul to Keep. I was writing every day, I was doing the thing, but I knew I was cheating myself because I was not submitting my previous novel, The Between. It was sitting in a drawer. So it was the opposite of you. I was doing the writing, but I had let myself down. Like my former self who spent 9 months working on the between, I just shoved it in a drawer after a couple little rejections. Oh, I'm gonna put it in a drawer and start a new book. And no, yeah, I mean, I really felt like I was having anxiety attacks. I was like, what is this about? I'm writing every day, but I wasn't doing everything. I was not fulfilling all of my promises. So I love that you have that kind of accountability for yourself.
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, pat yourself on the back. It's not easy to go back and revise old stories. You're a different person now than when you wrote them, which is good from a skill standpoint, but sometimes not good from an emotional standpoint because sometimes it's hard to connect with your original inspiration. So that is huge work, but that you know you should also be writing is huge. So kudos to you.
So I would like you to make a commitment to us to have a short
Hmm.
story by the end of next month, you know,
Okay.
and something new, something dangerous,
Ooh,
something,
dangerous.
yeah, something that exposes you or is something you haven't tried before, something that stretches you, and make it short enough that you can share over on the circle group so that we can make comments. Because it isn't enough to take an action or make a decision. It's not enough to make a decision. You have to take an action. And it is enough to take an action. You have to make a public display of it so that your community
Hmm.
has a chance to interact with you. So if you will do that, then we can coach you. And it doesn't matter. A short story could be 2 pages. Just read
Hmm.
a lot of 2-page short stories. So allow me to ask the question, what have you been reading?
I have been reading a lot of anthologies.
Good,
So
good.
yeah, that's where I'm at.
Okay. So it sounds like really sounds like you're doing just the right thing. That you're fine. You're in place. Uh, is there anything we can do for you?
No, I'm just looking forward to our horror workshop
Yep.
November
that
1st.
November
that's
Us
coming
1st.
up.
too.
Yay!
And people
Because
who
I
would
do
like to
have some
sign up for
ideas that I
that,
want to work up for that.
Good.
Where do they go to sign up for that if they would like to be a part of it?
It's not, I mean, we really don't have an active sign up link at the moment, to tell you the truth. So the best thing you could do would be to write us at lifewritingcourses@gmail.com, and maybe we can work something out, but we don't have it up on the website anymore. So if we're having a horror writing workshop November 1st, it's $497. I'm just going to say that out there, but worth every penny because you not only get the workshop, which is a 3-hour workshop, but you get an ongoing membership in our Life Writing Professional Workshop. Steve and I have both taught in writing workshops, whether it's been Clarion or whether it's been in an MFA program. So we're bringing that to sort of a more informal Zoom setting where writers have been supporting themselves on and off for months this
And
year.
with the horror workshop, there's also a live component. You can come and be with us live. If
Yeah,
you,
in Southern California, you can come in person. So if you're curious, I don't know when this will air, but if it's before November 1st, write us at lifewritingcourses@gmail.com and we'll figure out how to get you set up.
okay, great. Anything else we can do for you, Suzanne?
No, that is it. I thank you so much. And I am so glad to see you back. I am just so glad to,
Thank
to see
you.
you back. That makes me so happy.
It makes me
Good
happy
to be
too.
back. All right.
It makes me very happy.
All right.
Beats the alternative, that's for sure.
Oh, amen to that.
So this
As
is
far as I know.
Yeah. Well, unless you are like one of your doctors had the nerve to call you a zombie, which I guess is that the medical term for what happened to you? But anyway, he called you a zombie. But anyway, this has been a great meeting. I'm feeling like we have done the thing and said the thing. So I'm feeling like I want to tell everyone to go out and make yourselves the hero or heroine in your own story.
The hero in the adventure of your lifetime.
Bye
Take care,
bye,
everybody. Okay, unmute
everybody.
yourselves and say goodbye.
Hi, everyone. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Have a great week.
Have a
Namaste.
great week, sir.
Everyone.
Everybody,
Namaste.
bye.
All right.